situation in your experience, you might be smarter just to go inside and wait it out. It might be nothing, but again, it might be someone who saw that church van is looking for an opportunity. I guess in conclusion, I'd like to emphasize that I know most people are good, but there are some people out there that look to take advantage. Church congregants are frequently victimized because they enter into situations without fully preparing for all the possibilities they face. God will offer protection, but He also expects us to use our God-given senses, as it says in Nehemiah. And we prayed to our God, but posted a guard as protection against them day and night. I would ask that each of you be your guard and each other's guard, and make your experience of serving the homeless and in some of these challenging environments as best as you can. Thank you for your time.
You did an excellent job. If you didn't take notes, you should get the video, because he just covered almost everything I would have covered to a group visiting CAS. A couple things I would add to what he said before I move on to mine. Do not look for a property damage area in Detroit. Just keep going. And I mean it. The cops aren't coming. There's not enough police officers. Day or night, weekend, holiday, they're not coming. The good news for Street Threads and probably for Art and Soul at Central is that you are in connection with Wayne State that does come. But probably my third year at CAS, we had the bus parked across the street from the church in what now is the parking lot to the activity center. I'm not sure if I've told this story here before or not. It was the middle of the night, about 2 in the morning, and a man was walking across the lot and was confronted by two individuals who didn't have a gun and didn't have a knife. They had a brick. A brick. So I don't know how you tell if somebody else has got a brick on them or not, but I'm not very good at guessing that. And they stole his stuff, and then they began beating him with the brick. And the neighbors in the apartment next to the lot started calling 911 at 2 or 3 in the morning, whichever time it was. They robbed him, they took his clothes, they did other horrific things to private parts. When the police arrived at 7:30 in the morning, he was dead. So I don't want you to leave thinking tonight you can just call 911. Because it doesn't work in a large city like Detroit the way it does in Birmingham. It's a different reality. It's not a chance to attack cops because they put their lives on the line every day. But we just don't have enough of them. It's a very large area of land, and response in my experience has not been terrific. Occasionally we lie to them to get them to come, saying someone's almost dead, and sometimes they come. So I wanted you to hear me say that, but call Wayne State. Wayne State will come promptly, professionally. They'll help you, they'll protect you in wonderful ways, which is one of the reasons I was glad for the shift to the location, because you're closer to Wayne State. The other thing I would add is that great suggestions about clothing and attire and cars, and take some men with you. Men are nice to look at, first of all. But the area you're going to, they're assessing your group for strength. And by and large, men are stronger, bigger, taller than we are. And to have a couple men, even if you and I know they're the most weak men of the whole congregation, they will not know that in the CAS corridor. And if you don't tell them, you're good. That's not to say nothing bad will happen to you if you have a lot of men. It is to say perception is reality most of the time. Okay? So having heard Bob, and I applaud everything he said and more. I probably need to say, well, why the heck would anybody go? Why would you go back? Well, because it's mandated in the Bible, you know that. You've got a very fine preacher in Jack Harnish who gives you the full gospel, the real truth, the good news, beginning to end, front to back, cover to cover. And it says everywhere you look that you should be concerned about poor people, including homeless people. Whether you're reading the Torah, or the prophets, or the Gospels, or Luke, or Luke is a Gospel, I'm sorry, or James, you'll see that God has a special place in the divine heart for poor people, and that we're advised to care for the least, the last, the lost, the orphan, the widow, the stranger. It's there. Anybody who says you shouldn't be concerned about poor people hasn't read the gospel, doesn't know about Christianity, thinks it perhaps is a spectator sport, and it's not. It's a part of the good news. John Wesley says, it's a means of grace. Being in ministry with, being in contact with, caring for, praying for, providing for, being a part of a community that has poor people, and when our proximity is what? Just down Woodward? What excuse are you going to give with the Matthew 25 judgment scene? Well, Lord, I was scared. That's not one I want to use. So we don't get off the hook just because we have to be careful. We have to be smart. We have to be thoughtful and prepared. We don't get out of it. It's there. And this church gets it, so I congratulate you on getting it. Now, let me say to you, people can be manipulative. And some of you are parents, you know that, right? People can be manipulative. Remember your first date? I was talking at the office today. How can I talk about this in a way everybody's going to understand? Everybody alive who's over, probably 35 has had a first date, right? And you go, and he's invited you or she's invited you, and I mean you doll yourself up with clothes and perfume and showers, and you think about what you're going to say and where you're going to go, and it's all make-believe. That's not who you're going to marry if you marry that person, is it? You're worried about the impression. You're trying to manipulate what they believe about you if you like him or her, because you want a second date. You want a relationship. So what I'm here to say is not that we should be judgmental of poor people, but often they can be pretty manipulative because it helps them cope. It helps them get what they need. It helps them not only through the day, but to have an advantage, if you will. And I just raise that so you're aware of it. Often people say to me, oh my goodness, the homeless are so helpful at Cass. I pulled up in my car and they came running out to bring in the bags of stuff because they didn't want me to carry that heavy stuff. No! They did come running out. They want to see what you got in there. They're going to ask you for that lamp or that desk or that chair or that whatever you've got. If they see it first and ask you for it, you're probably going to say yes. They're not trying to be helpful. They're being manipulative. It's not a bad thing. It's a coping thing. But you're not thinking that way, because you're just thinking you're there to serve Christ and to help the poor. So, the Bob's comment about you're entering a different world, you're not in Kansas anymore when you're in the corridor or you're in the city or any other area where people are desperate. And if you're homeless or poor, you're desperate. You're worried about things that people in this room you're not worried about. When's the last time somebody asked for your address and you told them what size shoes you wear? That's my address. Or it's my car, it's a Chevy, I've slept in it for 4 months. Of course you're going to get good at approaching people in such a way that they will help you. It's not a judgment thing, but it's a reality. Most of the people who see you coming are wondering what they can get out of you. Maybe they're friendly. Certainly they're friendly because that's going to help them. I was at an Olga's the other day. I love Olga's. And we're sitting there finishing the meal, blah, 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 eating like we exercise. And the waitress comes up to me before we even asked for the bill, and she said, would you like a pop to go? I hit the jackpot. I left her a $5 tip, honest to God. It was manipulative and I knew it, but she gave me what I wanted. That's what happens. So all of this is to say that you should be mindful that people are going to tell you stories that they think will work. They just are. And you'll get used to it after a while. Every single Sunday I hear at least 3 stories, sometimes as many as 7 stories. Most of them involve needing money for, and then just fill in the blank. I had a flat tire, I ran out of gas, Sunday was a doozy. This guy came, I was leaving church, getting ready to go do something, normal and human, and up he comes and he's doing this with his head, and I said, are you okay? He said, yeah, what kind of church is this? I should have known right then. I said, it's the United Methodist. Oh, good. He says, I'm Catholic, and he makes the cross, as if now, oh, well, we're together in the faith walk. And he said, I'm a student in Ann Arbor. And I came down with this girl, we were on a date, and she was drunk, and we hit something, and I got a concussion. The police picked her up. You know those darn police, they're just out picking people up from Ann Arbor. And they threw her in jail, and they impounded her car, and I went to receiving, and now I need to get back to Ann Arbor, and I don't know can you help me? He said with these big puppy eyes, Oh, I think I can. I said, can I see your paperwork from receiving? When's the last time you got out of the hospital they didn't give you at least a yellow pages worth of paperwork? He opens his book bag and he says, oh, I must have left it there. I said, can I see your hospital band? I must have ripped it off. He said, but they told me at the hospital I could get a bus back to Ann Arbor, and it's $8.50. I said, oh, I'd be glad to give you that. He looked. I said, I'll take you right down to the bus station and buy it for you. Oh, I don't know if that'll work, he says. So now I know I got him. Yeah. So I called Janelle, who goes to our church. He's about as big as, I don't know, he's big. And I said, Janelle, come on over here. He said, okay. I said, you got any plans this afternoon? No, he said. I said, if I give you $10, will you drive this guy to Ann Arbor? He needs to get back to Ann Arbor. He says, oh, my concussion! I don't know how to do with my meds. I can't go with him. I just need $8.50. I said, no. I'm sure he just walked down the street and told the same story to somebody else. Although when I asked Kishan this afternoon, who is Janelle's girlfriend, by the way, who was in my office, I said, you got any good manipulation stories I can tell tonight to drive the point home? She says, you remember when those 2 guys came into the church? And I didn't. She said, one was black and one was white. I said, yeah. She said, and he had this whole long story about this or that or the next thing. It could have been, a drama on the Disney Channel. I'm still not remembering. And she says, well, you told him no. Surprise, surprise. And she said, then you walked out of the room and these 2 guys are sitting together in the gym, and she says, they didn't see her. So the one guy says to the other guy, see, I told you should have told her the other story. Now, maybe you're thinking I'm callous and I've been at Cass too long. I've lived and worked and worshiped and pastored in Detroit for 25 years now. And maybe I am callous. Maybe that happens sometimes to police officers too. They've seen such horrible, horrible things. But I know too, when you're not cautious and prepared, it can be deadly. It can be costly. And so I tell you, from the 3 times, if I had the chance to turn back the clock, 3 people would be alive tonight. One's a staff member, and 2 were members of a Methodist church in Farmington. And Here's the big mistake I made. When you come to work at Cass, man, I'm all over you, or at least the staff is. They don't get the credit they deserve. But we're watching you. We're watching you from the minute you pull into the parking lot till you're in the lunchroom, and we're watching. Nobody's gonna even say boo to you that we don't hear. And we've never had anyone hurt on our property. Never. The mistake I've made over the years at Cass is to realize that usually the danger isn't when the group is at Cass. The danger is when you're alone and when you're away. Because all three of those people died because they befriended somebody who was connected to Cass and established a relationship. Now hear me say this. I'm not preaching to you that you shouldn't have relationships. I am preaching to you that people that you meet at places like Cass sometimes use manipulation in a way that can hurt you. So I would trumpet after Bob, do not set them up. Do not give them information that they should not have. Your telephone number, your cell phone number, your home address, your Visa card. Give that to me. Do not drive them in your car anywhere. I don't drive anybody in my car anywhere. And I know most of them better than most of you know most of them. It's just common sense. And you're going to say to me, oh, but this person, he's different, she's not mentally ill, he's not using drugs. You don't know. You do not know. When I started at Cass, I had a custodian, his name was Pierre, and I loved him. I loved him like my own brother. Big, burly guy, great smile, good laugh. I'd do anything for him. He'd do anything for me. It was after Christmas, really, when he got in trouble, and it was only then that I learned that he was a crack addict, and that the way he was paying his dealer was loaning out the church keys. So that when I went there alone at night to work, which I did with great frequency then, sometimes after midnight, because I'm an idiot, I would be in the building with his crack dealer who had access to everything, including me. Because Pierre had a debt to his crack dealer that I didn't know about. You don't know. You think you know because he's warm and fuzzy and friendly and because you're kind-hearted, but you do not. Please be careful.